Welcome to Metalwani. Rishabh here with Christian Münzner and Jimmy Pitts of Eternity's End. How are you guys doing?
Great, man. Doing very well. Thanks for the interview, man. For the chance.
Yeah, doing well here too. Thank you.
Right. So, Eternity's End has a new album finally completed. So, Chris, what is the initial response that you have got for this album?
So far, it's been very positive. It's been going a little bit like I expected. That many of the fans of my previous works, like the bands that I've been in, like the die-hard death metal fans, are probably not into it as much. But then on the other hand, it gains a lot of new fans. That probably liked the guitar playing maybe, but weren't into death metal at all.
Right.
So, but I really haven't gotten any negative response so far, and from people who are into that music, they seem to love it very much. It's just not the most popular style of music, I would say, right now. So I'm very happy with how the response has been so far.
Well, yeah, Christian, you say that it's not very popular, but you just had a very, very successful crowdfunding campaign. So how are you feeling about that? Is there excitement within the camp?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I actually feel very, very grateful that the campaign worked so well, because I basically financed the record out of my own pocket, and it's always a little bit of a financial risk as well. And when you see that you have such a faithful fan base who believe in what you do and who support what you do, then that's a quite overwhelming feeling, to know that whatever path I choose to take, there will be people who will support me, and this is a great feeling.
Absolutely, man. And you are known for your guitar playing in the death metal genre. But just a couple of years back, you released very different sounding solo albums. So tell us a little bit more about Eternity's End sound and how it evolved from your solo albums.
Right. So Eternity's End. I mean, the style of music that we play and the stuff that we do is it's pretty much a vision that I've had for many years. I would say probably almost 20 years, because that style, the neoclassical, the power metal, the progressive metal stuff,
right?
All the over-the-top guitar playing and the keyboard trade-offs and everything, and the epic choruses. That's actually been my first love, music-wise, and that's the kind of band I wanted to make since the 90s probably. And I actually really just ended up in death metal because a band from our area, Defeated Sanity, were looking for a guitar player back then, and then I just kind of ended up in that scene, even though I liked that music, but it's never been my very first love. So the music I play with Eternity's End that we play is what I always wanted to play. And from the solo albums, I mean, you can hear on the two solo albums that there are some similar influences as well. I mean, there's a lot of power metal elements going on Time Warp and Beyond the Wall of Sleep as well. It's just those were completely instrumental, and I always had the dream and the vision to work with a vocalist in that regard. Also, that it does not only attract maybe the guitar fans, but the general metal fans who just like quality music, that they would also get into it.
Right, and your last two solo albums were instrumental, right? So
yes.
Now that you've got Parry on vocals, so can you tell us a little bit about whether you have modified your guitar playing to, accommodate these vocals?
Yes, totally. I mean, you have to take a totally different approach in writing as well when you write vocal-based, right? Because you have to leave a lot of room actually for the vocals. So when you do an instrumental record, it's a little bit easier in that regard, because you just make the guitar part sound good. You know what it's going to sound like. But when you write vocal-based music, you have to hear the vision in your head. And very often, if you just take the guitar parts by themselves, they don't give you the complete song already, right? It's just like a carpet for what the vocalist is going to do. And I actually had to write the vocal melodies as well. So I wrote the vocal melodies for 9 out of the 10 tracks.
Okay.
And I basically wrote them on the guitar, right? And it was the first time I ever did that, because
wow.
So because I'm myself not a great singer. I did some backing vocals, but I definitely don't have the range like a singer like Ian has. So I basically wrote the vocal melodies with the guitar.
Okay.
And recorded them with the guitar, and sometimes Ian had to change a couple of things because I didn't always have the most realistic kind of vision of what the natural vocal range of Ian is, right? So he made some adaptations here and there, but and that was actually quite a challenge, to write the vocal melodies with the guitar and then basically write lyrics where the syllables would fit on the notes that I played on the guitar. Right? So that was a very exciting approach.
Right, that's true. And what about you, Jimmy? Have you played any differently now that a vocalist has been added to the band?
Well, my approach is pretty much the same because Christian's such a great composer. He writes a lot of the keyboard parts. I'd say almost all of the keyboard parts. And then I, sometimes I revoice them or change a chord voicing or something.
Okay.
And then the solo sections, I have a lot of, freedom to just do pretty much what I'm used to doing. Only, this is a lot more like the Beyond the Wall of Sleep approach, the more neoclassical approach.
Okay.
And it's something I always wanted to do. So both of these albums are kind of a dream come true for me. And but my approach has been, it's worked about the same because a lot of the keyboards are just chord voicings or doubling, the crazy passages that Christian comes up with and adding solos. So.
Okay, right. So so I think you've pretty much told us how you structure your solos, but how would you describe to the fans an experience of playing a dual lead with, the one and only Christian Münzner?
It's a challenge. It's a great challenge. I've been a fan of Christian for quite some time because I started also in death metal, and I remember when Epitaph came out, just being bowled over, and then I remember the first time when I bought Time Warp, I was just bowled over. So to be now in 2 projects in a row where I get to trade with Christian, I think it forces me to have to step up my game a lot.
Okay.
And it's just really an honor. And other than just I think I have to think a lot more about melody. Because Christian doesn't just shred, he writes beautiful phrasing too. So I think that he's brought out the best in my playing too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I actually would say that it works both ways, right? Because sometimes we do it differently in songs. Sometimes Jimmy would record his solos first, and then I would record mine, and sometimes it's the opposite, right? And that way we can basically inspire each other's phrasings as well, right? Because you basically respond to what. I think there were 2 songs or something on the new album where basically Jimmy recorded the solos first, and then I responded to his solos, and sometimes it's the opposite. So I think that's a really cool way to inspire each other, with the trade-off sections.
Well, right. Okay. So let's talk about some of the other musicians in your band. So Eternity's End features Hannes Grossmann and Linus Klausenitzer on drums and bass. Personally, I think they're a superb rhythm section. So how's it like working with them on the band?
Well, no, I've been working with them in various different situations. We're working in Alkaloid together,
right.
which is, and then we all played on Hannes' second solo record. First solo record, Jimmy played on that one too, and then basically we all played on Beyond the Wall of Sleep. And then with Hannes and Linus, I also played a long time in Obscura, even though I never recorded an actual album in that lineup with Linus, but we toured together for like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, with Obscura.
Right, and we it's interesting, because it works so different in those different situations. Alkaloid and Hannes' solo record are basically his baby, and he has the total creative freedom and control in those situations. And both of the guys, they play totally different, when they play on my stuff, because I pretty much pre-produce the songs with program drums and program bass, and then they basically stick very close to my ideas. They just add like their own personality, of course, in the fields that they do and the stuff. And it's actually interesting because very often when you have musicians of that caliber, sometimes they have a hard time to restrain themselves, but that's not the case with Hannes and Linus. Now, when you hear what Hannes is doing on the new album, you would think that he played power metal for all his life, even though that's not his main style of music at all. But I think what's so great about those guys is that they do it so convincingly, right? They still sound
Right.
themselves. The fans can tell who they are, but they don't overplay, and they completely fit into the musical picture, I think.
Okay, Jimmy, what do you think about working with Hannes and Linus?
Yeah, the same. It's just they're probably one of the most versatile and talented rhythm sections that someone could hope to work with. As Christian said, they're very convincing in whatever style they play. And Linus, I've worked with now, on Christian's album and Hannes' album, and then Hannes was on the Fractured Dimension for me, and
Yes.
they're both really easy to work with, and they deliver quickly. And you think, how did they do such a great job so quickly? But I call them. I think they're about the best rhythm section there is.
That's awesome, man.
I really do.
Right, Chris. So let's talk a bit about your guitar playing. You use the term neoclassical to describe your guitaring. So what do you think about this term itself? So can you tell us a bit about some of the composers that have inspired you to use this term for your playing?
Okay, the neoclassical. Yeah, I mean, it's especially evident on the new album because I don't focus so much on the fusion or progressive influences as I do on my solo records. So when I think the way I got into neoclassical was like almost everyone else through hearing Yngwie, for the first time.
Okay.
Malmsteen, when I was when I was 12.
Right.
12 years old. That was in 1994. My guitar teacher gave me a copy of Fire and Ice, and then a friend of mine from school then gave me the Yngwie Malmsteen collection videotape, that covered material from the first 5 albums, and that basically changed my life, because before I was just a regular, just like regular hard rock and heavy metal playing, and I just loved the combination of the Baroque classical influences, because at home, where I grew up, both of my parents played piano quite well, and my cousin played piano very well, and they all played, I basically grew up around like the Bach pieces and everything. Like my uncle he has his own orchestra, he's a virtuoso violin player.
Right.
And my grandfather was very much into classical music, so it basically was all around me since I've been alive. And of course, in pubescent years, you get more into the aggression and the fire that you get from heavy metal music, and it was so cool to finally hear that combined, and that was I thought that was actually very, very inspiring, to have that intellectual approach from the Baroque era combined with the more with the gut feeling of heavy metal, and this is basically where my obsession with starting to practice heavily started, and then I just discovered many other players along the way, go like guys like Winnie Moore and Tony McAlpine and Joy DeFolla, Michael Romeo from Symphony X, and so on.
Yeah.
And I also, of course, listened to a lot of like Bach and stuff like that, analyzing the harmonic structures.
Okay.
And I just think that this medieval kind of sound, goes very well with metal, and it's just a lot of fun to do. I mean, I think I wouldn't limit my guitar playing to just neoclassical, but in Eternity's End, that's what we do for the most part. I mean, if you listen to the Alkaloid record, for example, there's not really a lot of neoclassical elements on that one, except for like one song or so. But I think what it basically describes the term is a lot of course, a lot of the sound aesthetics. We have a lot of the harpsichords going on, doubling fast arpeggio passages that I do on the guitar. We have like lots of like big keyboard arrangements. You have lots of many of the chord progressions. Draw a lot of influence from Baroque kind of music. The way you use secondary dominant chords and stuff like that, and key modulations. That's very reminiscent of what classical composers from that specific area originally did.